Ladies and gentlemen, testing has been a huge issue when it comes down to CV in America. Well, recently, Trump had made the suggestion that testing was no longer an issue in America. Well, the governors don't agree with him. This came out in the New York Times, March 30th, 2020. President Trump told governors on a conference call on Monday that he had not heard about testing in weeks, suggesting that a chronic lack of kits to screen people for CV was no longer a problem. Well, it doesn't exactly work like that. Just because you haven't heard anything about it, it does not mean the problem has gone away. In fact, I have heard these governors talking about testing being an issue nonstop in this country. If you haven't heard it from the governors, you certainly heard it from the medical professionals. But governors painted a different picture on the grounds. Governor Stephen Bullock of Montana, a Democrat, said the officials in his state were trying to do contact tracing, tracing down people who have come in contact with those who have tested positive. But they were struggling because we don't have adequate tests, according to an audio recording of the conversation obtained by the New York Times. Literally, we are one day away. If we don't get test kits from the CDC, that we wouldn't be able to do testing in Montana, Mr. Bullock said. The midday call was one of a handful that Trump has held with governors, some of whom have sparred with the president over the federal government's response to the spread of CV. Others have calculated that it would be easier to get the needs of their states fulfilled by praising Trump. Oh man, look what they got to resort to just to get, oh my, who seeks credit and affirmation in most interactions. So he's just seeking a pat on the back. Can't you put that stuff aside until all of this is resolved? What is so hard about that? Boy, this man got some low self esteem. If you need all these damn pats on the back, you got low self esteem. Okay. You just do. On Monday, call Mr. Bullock, whose state is heavily rural, tried to stress the disparity Montana faces in trying to mitigate the spread of the virus because of a lack of testing. All right, let me see if I can play this audio for you. Okay, after this commercial, let's see if it'll play. This is ridiculous. So you got to kiss his ass in order to get somewhere. That's just outrageous.
Literally, we are one day away if we don't get test kits from the CDC, that we wouldn't be able to be tested in Montana. We have gone time and time again to the private side of this, the private market, and where the private market is telling us is that it's the national resources that are then taking our orders apart. Basically, so we're getting our orders canceled. That's for PPE, that's for testing supplies, that's for testing equipment. So while we're trying to do all the contact tracing, we don't have adequate tests to necessarily do it. We don't have the PPE along the way, and we're not finding markets to be able to do that along the way, or private suppliers. So we do have to rely on a national chain of distribution, or we're not going to get it. But we are doing our best to try to do exactly that in, like, it's Gallatin County would be an example, where we have almost half of our overall state goes to deposits. So we're trying to shift the supplies to really isolate that and do contact tracing, but we just don't have enough supplies to do the testing. Right. Tony, you can answer it if you want, but I haven't heard about testing in weeks. We've tested more now than any nation in the world. We've got these great tests, and we come out with another one tomorrow where it's, almost instantaneous testing. But I haven't heard about testing being a problem.
That is a bold-faced lie. They have been complaining about the lack of testing in this country now for several weeks. And talking about we've done more tests than anyone in the whole world. That's a lie. If you don't have the test here, how did you do more than anyone in the whole world? The US is lagging behind the rest of the world. Everybody in other countries are testing more people than the US. So if you don't have the test and you have not been able to do the testing, how are you doing more than anyone else in the world? Oh, this man is sickening sometimes. For real. Trump initially said that Dr. Anthony S. Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, could respond to the question, then quickly offered a rejoinder. I haven't heard about testing in weeks, the president said. We've tested more now than any nation in the world. That is a bold-faced lie. That is a lie. I'm even hearing the complaints in my own state. I've been hearing the complaints about hardly no test in America. Wow. We've got these great tests and we're coming out with a faster one this week. Reiterating his point, Mr. Trump added, I haven't heard about testing being a problem. That is a lie. They've been telling him all along about how poor the testing has been. Many people who have symptoms of the virus are still finding it difficult to be tested. Exactly. And many who have been tested are waiting more than a week to get results. Yeah, but Trump got his back in less than a day. The failures of the federal government to adequately develop testing supplies for the contagion have been well documented by the New York Times and other news outlets. Reports have rankled Mr. Trump. Although testing has picked up since a series of setbacks left the United States behind, governors have continued to warn in recent days that their response is still hampered by shortages, including of basic supplies like swabs. Governor Jay Inslee of Washington, a Democrat, told CNN on Sunday that we have a desperate need for the testing kits. And Governor Ralph Northam of Virginia, also a Democrat, warned last week that there was a shortage of testing materials in his state. The president has recently taken to pointing to the volume of tests that have been administered, a misleading figure because, according to health experts, the more relevant figures is how many people are being tested per capita. In regards, the United States still lags behind other nations like South Korea. Other governors also made it clear to Mr. Trump that they needed more supplies. If somehow more delicately, Governor Roy Cooper of North Carolina, a Democrat, told Mr. Trump, as much as you can send us is very much appreciated. That prompted the president to note that we have a lot of planes coming in and that Boeing gave us their big monster cargo plane. It's the biggest cargo plane in the world. You notice anything that Trump talks about is always the biggest in the world, the most in the world, the fastest in the world. Wow. Almost sound like some kindergarten talking. Okay. Another point in the call when someone asked the governor of Utah was on the line. Mr. Trump cracked that was probably visiting Mitt Romney, the state's junior senator who have been in quarantine after coming in contact with Senator Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, who tested positive for CV. A White House spokesman, Hogan Gidley, described the call this way: the governors praise President Trump's leadership. Why? It's been horrible. Why? Woo. See, that's the problem in this society. They praise things that don't deserve to be praised. And this is the way it's been all across the board. They praise things that don't deserve to be praised. And this is definitely one of those things. Okay. Assistance and quick action to address this national crisis. If you don't have the test and you don't have the medical supplies, how is he addressing everything quickly? Oh, these people are ass kissers. They are ass kissers. And you're doing it to somebody that don't deserve it at all. The president told the governors he would make sure that whatever they may need, he would direct his team to provide. Well, where's the ventilators? Where's the medical supplies? Where's the test? I mean, this subject has been coming up forever now, and it's still not done. Wow, praising him for his leadership. What a joke. And at the daily White House briefing on Monday afternoon, Mr. Trump described the call as an opportunity for the governors to thank his administration. Thank you for what? They're still in need of everything. Oh my goodness. This man wants to be thanked for doing absolutely nothing. Woo! But I guess this is the way it has been all along, y'all. That's how these people are, you know? They be ego tripping. They need a pat on the back, even if they've done nothing. I think for the most part, they were saying, thank you for doing a great job, he said. What great job? Y'all seen a great job done up in here? The country is still lagging behind, but a great job has been done. Now, I can give the nurses and doctors a pat on the back because they've been working their asses off. Meanwhile, Mr. Inslee on Monday that he was shocked to hear the president convey the lack of awareness about testing concerns and that he was hopeful the president would look into the issue. It would be shocking to me that if anyone who has had access to any newspaper, radio, social networks, or any other communication would not be knowledgeable about the need for test kits, Mr. Inslee said. I can be assured that the White House know very well about this desperate need for test kits. No, he wants to be thanked and appreciated for the hard work he's done. And we're doing more than any other nation in the world. Wow, that's right up there with, oh, we got 15 cases and we'll have 0 by next week. We see that that was one thing that never came to pass. Wow. Mr. Inslee said his state was facing a dire shortage of kits, leaving a choke point in an effort to ramp up testing. He described how, in one case, workers at the state's healthcare department had to drive hours across Washington to pick up kits and bring them to, oh, wow, to, different locations during an outbreak. Oh, wow. Mm-mm-mm. The state is looking everywhere it can find test kits, Mr. Inslee said. But he would like to see the federal government order businesses around the country to manufacture them to help states get the supplies they need. This could really use federal leadership to get this job done, Mr. Inslee said. While Washington has conducted tens of thousands of tests thus far, perhaps the most per capita behind New York, Mr. Inslee said officials needed much more to help guide decisions and containment strategies. Wow. It makes you wonder how does Trump, how does everybody in the country knows that there are not enough test kits in the country, but Trump hadn't heard about it in weeks and he thought the whole thing was resolved. Boy, talk about out of touch. That is really seriously out of touch for real, y'all. But please tell me what you think of this article. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video.